up on winter speed. The Corel World Cup Bobsled Tour continues with a stop in Königssee, Germany. And we'll introduce you to a former Soviet slider now helping the United States. Königssee, Germany, welcome to the Corel World Cup two-man bobsled event. Hello once again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. Welcome to another edition of Winter Speed here on Prime Network. Well, we've got more World Cup bobsledding for you. You may think it's a crazy sport, but in Germany, they're crazy about the sport of bobsledding. And we've got World Cup action from the city of Königssee, Germany. Right now, my partner John Morgan joins us. John, this is the last town you ever actually competed in bobsled in. When was that, late 40s or?
1979 World Bobsled Championships. It's a short 1,200-meter track. It's got two tricky zigzags up top. That really separates the men from the boys as far as driving the sled down. You get through those two zigzags, you got a long straightaway into a Kreisel. So it's a great track to find out who the best drivers are. And of course, in bobsledding, you have to have the good start too, Tim.
Separating the men from the boys here in Königssee. Your thoughts, will the Americans be men or boys?
Well, the Germans, it's pretty tough on their home track here. I think Brian Scheimer is going to have all he can do to crack into the top three. But Scheimer gets the good starts. Whether or not the Bodine sleds are in tune for this track, we're going to find out.
And we'll find out very shortly. But first, highlights from the first heat, and John Morgan, a young American in his second ever race.
Yeah, a couple of bumps there going into this big Kreisel corner, 270-degree change of direction. 4 G's of force, he's going up and down in it. Now a little S-corner combination here. You got your hands full as a pilot of this track.
Tuffy Latour in 22nd place, but a better showing by Jim Herbrick, 8th place.
Yeah, again, up and down there. Look at the driving mistakes. You can see how tight this track is. It's really a loose track, and you got some bobsleds competing on it once in a while.
And here's Brian Scheimer, USA sled number 1.
Great starts. Puts him in 3rd place at the end of the first heat. 1,200-meter track, you need that start. Scheimer gets a good start, but he's also a good pilot.
But in 1st place after the first heat, the favorite entering this event, former world champion Christoph Langen.
Well, superior start times, best starting team in the world. One of the 4 German tracks in the world. Königssee gets a lot of action by these German pilots. That's why they're good drivers.
So it's Langen by a wide margin over Italy's Gunther Huber. Brian Scheimer holding the United States on the podium rankings heading into the 2nd heat. It's Herbrick in 8th place, Latour in 22nd, following 1 heat of action. Well, we're set now for the 2nd heat. First up, this is Canada 1. Chris Laurie, the veteran Canadian, is hoping for better things this year with a sled he bought from former world champion Gustav Vader.
We're really quite happy with the sleds. The two-man, I've had, of course, I've had a lot more time to work with it since I brought it back to Calgary and was able to use it in selection and for the first race in Calgary. I'm very happy with the equipment, although the 4-man, both pieces of equipment actually, I'm still trying to figure out the optimal setting for each run. Vader's been helping me out a bit, but you also have to take into consideration the rock on my runners and the feeling that I generally have for a sled, and with the setting of the bungees and taking all that into consideration. Hopefully we'll find it by World Championships, but we've been having good results regardless.
And John, the question begs, how much of a difference does the sled make in comparison to the athletes, in this case Laurie and Baptiste?
Well, there's 3 parts to the pie. It's the sled, the athletes, and the runners. Chris Laurie's got 2 of the 3. He lacks a little bit at the start. The sled runners are there, the experience. Little tap there out of that first wall.
Well, a 585 start. By comparison, we were seeing low 570s in the first heat.
Well, he's a good pilot, but he's got to hit a home run here. You got that type of start deficiency. You can't afford to do nothing but score big. I mean, good drive right there, right down the middle of the track. Little tap there, that's going to cost him a lot as he goes into the speed part of the track, Timmy, 75-mile-an-hour speeds.
15th place after the first heat, a very short track, John, so mistakes really add up quickly.
Yeah, you can't make a mistake at the start. There's no mistakes allowed at the finish.
This coverage provided by German TV, and John, in some instances, they cut away to the replays as we see right here before the finish curve.
Yeah, look at the transitions, pretty good. You see the runners coming straight at us, no variation, no ice spray. He's headed very, just aerodynamically down behind the cowling, and not a bad time, Timmy, but he was buried that first 50 meters.
Well, there his total time, John, for the 2 heats. He started in 15th. It will be tough for Canada 1 to stay in contention.
He's a better format guy.
Winter Speed is being brought to you by Corel, the fastest in graphics, official sponsor of the World Cup Bobsled Tour. Well, back here in Königssee, Germany, a great look at what the inside of a sled is all about. Here at the Königssee track in Königssee, we're on the Germany-Austria border and getting set now for Swiss number 1. And this is a driver, Reto Goche, who emerged out of nowhere last year in Lillehammer.
Well, he had the gold medal in the first 3 heats. He slipped to the silver medal in the second, but first Olympics ever, Timmy. Awesome performance.
Nonetheless, with the retirement of the great Gustav Vader, he is holding the reins for Bobsled Crazy Switzerland.
Yeah, his start times were pretty impressive last year. They're 584, 600s off the pace. But it's Timmy, typical Swiss pilot. You won't see any variances in the sled. It seems like Switzerland is going to produce great pilots.
Again, the clock on the lower right side of your screen represents the total running time. It will stop at the splits, but there are no intermediate splits provided for us. So the best we can do is try to keep you a running tab on how these drivers are faring on their way down the track in relation to the faster sleds.
Well, it's pretty hard to tell with the naked eye, but if you've been watching his run, Timmy, he's been clean, unlike the Canadian sled we just saw come down. Here's a little S-corner combination at the bottom. Finish. There's the replay. Look at the runners now. Look at that little skid there, Tim. You don't see that with the naked eye. You got to slow it down, but he skid. He came out of that corner a little too early. It cost him probably 1,500ths of time.
Well, 138.92 puts the Swiss sled ahead of Canada's Chris Laurie as we get set for the first of our 3 American sleds. This is young Tuffy Latour. He's from Schenectady, New York. His brakeman, Joe McDonald. John, just their second ever World Cup event.
Well, they're new, Timmy. The only way you get experience is to come out here, get out of the dugout, and do it. Tuffy's one of those guys, great pilot, but he lacks at the start, and he's got to come down and hit a home run every time. That's tough to do in this sport. 594. That's way off the pace. On a 1,200-meter track, it's crucial, and there's a little skid up there in that long straight. There's some zigzags, real tight corners up here.
It's our first good look at those Bodine sleds a little later in the program. We'll be giving you an update on just how the Bodine project's going, but not too good on that curve.
Well, a little inexperience there. Just trying to squeeze too hard coming off those corners. You have to let the sled flow, because once you make a mistake like that, the sled will just start skidding. When you start to skid in this sport, you lose valuable time.
The Königssee track, once again, very short, but not a particularly slow one. They get moving by the bottom.
It's just like in NASCAR. You got those tight tracks. You got the big tracks, the speed tracks, the Daytonas, and then you got the Darlingtons, the Talladegas. This has just got a little personality in itself too, Timmy. But the start, what we're seeing right here is so important. But watch this skid here. Look at the runners, throwing up a little snow, and geez, Timmy, that type of mistake, you can just tell he's steering it back and forth, trying to steer away to the right, to the left. Rookie mistakes on Tuffy Latour.
Chalk it up for experience for the young American. And speaking of young, here is Italy number 3, a brand new pilot to the strong Italian program, Dieter Kofler, with an experienced brakeman in Antonio Stifi.
Yeah, first time we've seen Kofler out here on the tour. We've seen Stifi, and I think he's got a brother too. We also see start time is 584, not bad. Got that German name though, Tim. He's typical Italian who's from that northern part of Italy.
I was going to say, social commentary, you've got the Italian and Stiefy and the German/Italian and Kofler, and politically, those two sides don't like each other, but when it comes to the sport of bobsledding, they can work together.
Same in luge too, Timmy. Look at that. Everybody's having problems coming down there to take onto this big Kreisel corner. Watch the way the sled goes up and down. You want to keep the nice solid line all the way around and then exit into these two little S corners. Very tricky. Hardly any steering in here at all, Timmy.
Well, they had a 49.73 in the first heat. That put them in 13th place. It looks like they're doing a little better as we take a look back up top.
584 starts not bad. Kofer's a pretty big guy. Watch the exit here. Look for the rudder tips. Any skid? A little bit of skid out of the back end, but not a bad transition at all. He's got some driving skill.
Well, the time of 1:39.01 puts Italy 3 for the time being in second place behind Switzerland's Reto Gocci. As we get set now back at the top for the first of two French sleds. This is Eric Allard and Eric Lechampagny. And despite the fact that they built that brand new beautiful track in La Plagne a couple of years ago for the Olympics, the French really haven't made much noise on the Olympics national circuit.
They just changed coaches. Ivo